Hello, friends and family around the world. This is Will Barney with Enoch Global Services here with another global update. It is August 11th, Tuesday, 2026. So much going on. We have some amazing things developing. The title of today's episode is We Have the Gold. This will make sense as we get into the program here. And speaking of gold, actually, we want to move right to our slides here. I've had a couple of people emailing me, and some have called, and they're trying to find out, well, where do you get gold? Where do you get silver? So I'm going to tell you where I go. I go to Bill Armour at Grace Precious Metals. He's my go-to guy. We're close friends. We've done a lot of shows together over the years. What I love about Bill is there's no nonsense pricing. It's a straight fixed percentage. You always know what it is. No nonsense. The way I like it. If you want to get some gold and silver, I'll give you a link in the description. You can go to him if you want clean, transparent service. And Bill's just an incredible guy anyway. He'll help you. He'll help you get set up if you need to roll over an IRA or 401k. He also has those facilities available. So moving on, let's get into economic news. And there is a lot to cover here today. I want to start with this first. The White House put out a meeting on Friday with mining executives around the country discussing what we need to do to get the mining industry going in America, to get critical minerals, rare earth minerals, and various things going. The White House put out this recap of the meeting. I thought it was quite good, so take a look.
Honor, and I'm delighted to be here at the Department of State to announce some of the largest ever investments in American mining. Critical minerals are the raw materials of American strength that power everything from advanced weaponry to automobiles, and we want these essential products to be mined, refined, and made right here in the USA.
At the core of this is our industrial strength, but also our national sovereignty, that we never depend on other countries for things we need to prosper and to defend ourselves as a people.
We're going to mine here, we're going to process here, we're going to refine here, we're going to manufacture here.
Mr. President, you have brought mining back to America single-handedly, you and your administration, and we wanted to thank you for your enduring support.
You've proven that we can drill, baby, drill. This group is here to prove that we can mine, baby, mine, and we're going to put American mining back on the map.
Together, we're reawakening the spirit of the gold rush, the prospectors and the great pioneers of this country, people who built the United States of America. And very simply, we're making mining great again, and the United States is doing better than it's ever done, maybe ever done.
So a lot of things came out of this meeting with the mining executives. America's opening up many of its federal lands for mining. There's going to be a lot of new mining leases that will be issued. And there was also some very critical investments that were made, not only in mining, but also in the trade schools that actually prepare people for the mining industry to help those schools get more miners on board, because we're going to need a lot more. Over the next several years, there's a lot of miners that are going to be retiring and exiting the industry, and that's kind of not good when we're trying to restart mining in America. So that's going to be fantastic. The net result of those meetings was gold shot up. As we look at, here's a chart here that we took just today, and it's amazing what we're seeing. So 43.80, that's up significantly. Gold's up about $200 or so an ounce since that meeting on Friday. So that was quite significant. As we look at this chart here on silver, you can see this is a 5-day chart, and you can see what it's done ever since they held the meeting on the 7th. So again, everything's moving in an upward direction. That's encouraging. Means that we're going to get our mining industry back, and that's good for metals because we're going to be pulling those metals out. Of course, there's a lot of different minerals that we're going for when we talk about mining. There's rare earth stuff. There's Trump talked a lot about magnets lately, but it's certainly having an effect in the gold and silver markets, at least the last 48 hours particularly. Now, we haven't looked at the debt clock here in a little while, but I want to just turn our attention to that for a second. This is a live screen of the debt clock running. For those of you that aren't following this, we've got a lot of things going on here. So the U.S. Treasury Reserve note, they're saying, okay, is climbing, and that value is up to 32 trillion, saying that there's restitution funds per taxpayer somewhere around 87,000. Thought that was a very significant number. If you look at what this is predicting that silver and gold should be at today, those also are significant numbers. Is 11. We're looking at 1481, on silver, and gold 11,696. Obviously, we don't see that in the market. This is projections of what it ought to be without a market that is manipulated. So you can go and check out the U.S. debt clock. There's a lot of interesting information there, particularly at the bottom where it says the USA Treasury asset-backed dollar, and it's got some really interesting numbers on the bottom there and what that means, which is incredible. Wealth asset reserves is way up there. And then, of course, the wealth per citizen showing $630,000. I thought that was interesting. I know many of you that are watching these programs, you don't actually see that. I get that. But this is about backing the assets of our country, retaking our sovereignty, and getting back to that. And I'll touch on that a little bit later in the program. So moving on here, Rand Paul went to Fort Knox. He was there just yesterday to visit and see the gold for himself. He says, at Fort Knox, we've come to see the gold. Our country has about 147 million ounces of gold, and about half of that is stored here at Fort Knox. Take a listen to Rand Paul.
Knox, we've come to see the gold. Our country has about 147 million ounces of gold, and about half of it is stored here at Fort Knox. We're going to be going deep underground to see the gold. But more importantly, we're going to be talking today about what happened to our dollar when we separated from gold in 1971. Over 85% of the value of the dollar has been lost since we delinked from gold. So there is a problem. The media now calls this affordability. But what it really is inflation. We run a debt. As the deficit runs up, $2 trillion a year, part of that debt is bought by the Federal Reserve with newly created dollars. This leads to inflation and prices are up. And my goodness, just go to the grocery store, still look at the price of meat. Prices are up 25% in the last 5 years. It's inflation. It's related to deficit spending. It's related to unbalanced budgets. So we're going to look at the gold today, but really what we're talking about is why is our paper currency failing us, and why does our country continue to run such massive debts? I'm going down underground, and I'll let you know what I see in a little bit. Thanks.
So this, Rand Paul did this in the morning. It was about 9:42 when he posted this video. A few hours later, he tweeted this. Yes, the gold is there, all approximately 147 million ounces. It is impressive, but the real point is what it still teaches us in 2026. In 1971, we severed the dollar from gold. Since then, the currency has lost roughly 85% of its value. Prices are higher because of the money itself is weaker. A family making $50,000 with 2 kids that has not received a 25% raise in the last 5 years is falling behind. This is now often called affordability, but the accurate word is inflation. We run annual deficits of $2 trillion. The Federal Reserve buys about a third of that debt by creating new money. Every new dollar dilutes the value of the dollars already in the people's pockets. Gold does not expand when Congress spends. Paper does, and that's the difference. So a lot going on there, but I thought it was interesting. I wanted to show you that. He's seen it with his own eyes. The gold is there. Donald Trump posted this, and it's actually a post put out by his daughter-in-law, Laura Trump. She says, wow, great chart. This chart compares cumulative inflation across the last 10 presidential terms, with every presidency starting from the same baseline. So Biden, 21.20%. That was the highest inflation-wise, okay? George H.W. Bush, 17.9%. Clinton was 11.81%. Bush 2, 10.28%. Bush won 9.79%. So Bush went up in inflation. Obama, the first term, was 9.38%. Trump's first term was 8%. Obama's second term dropped to 4.9%. So that was getting better. And then Trump's second term now is the lowest of all of these at 4.71%. And we're only 18 months into it. So it might even improve from this point, which is very interesting as we look at inflation rates. So apparently Trumponomics is working.
The president issued an executive order some months ago to address problems that were
Take a listen
created
to the OCC
during
here.
the prior administration having a policy around open borders. So the president, in a common sense fashion, is very focused on addressing some of the strains that put on our financial services system. So the OCC has taken 2 actions so far under that executive order, consistent and in coordination with the Treasury Secretary. So that includes first, making sure that banks are given guidance so that they know their customers. So banks have an existing and long-standing obligation to know the customers with whom they're doing business. I think that's a reasonable expectation that most Americans would have, that the banking system not be used to commit illicit financial activity, whether money laundering or fraud or anything like that. And so what we did, again, working together under the Secretary of the Treasury's leadership, is issue helpful guidance to banks so that they can prioritize and look for red flags associated with potential hallmarks of illegal activity. So that was the first set of guidance that we issued, again, back in June, I believe it was. More recently, the OCC, again, together and working with other federal banking agencies, released guidance more focused on safety and soundness. So in the ordinary course, obviously, we expect banks to manage the risks associated with banking. Banking does involve risk, and one of the most fundamental risks that banks take is the credit risks associated with their customers. So we put out guidance in the ordinary course. In this case, we put out guidance just emphasizing to the banks that it's very important that, as they would normally, that they focus on potential credit risks, including credit risks associated with making loans to illegal aliens who who are not in this country legally and therefore cannot look to their source of income necessarily as a form of repayment over time. And so again, we just wanted to remind banks of their obligations under existing law to focus and manage those credit risks.
So what does all this mean? Basically, let's break it down real simple. What it means is that banks have been loaning money to illegal aliens coming into the country. Now that we have a very strong border policy and many of those are being exited out of the country, they're now giving notice to the banks, hey, when you made these loans and thought they'd be around forever, they're not. They're getting out of here, and you need to assess risk properly when you're giving out loans. So this is going to, I think, tighten things up within the lending community, so particularly around the illegal alien issue, because those are all being exited. Donald Trump is doing the largest deportation effort ever. And of course, it's going to affect banks if they thought they were going to get repaid. Some of them are going to be gone out of the country, no way to repay them. And this could have an effect. So this is a warning from the Treasury and the OCC saying, hey, you guys are in trouble. You've got risk management problems here, particularly with the illegal aliens. I wanted to feature that because I thought it was an important thing to point out. As we've been looking at the Clarity Act, we had all last week for the Senate to do what they did. Last time our podcast was called The Senate's in a Quagmire, and that's how they ended the week, okay? They did manage to pass sanctions on Russia. That's kind of the only thing they did, really, when you look at it. We didn't get everything finalized with the debt in terms of budget amounts. So we wanted to get the budget funded through the end of the year. That didn't happen. We wanted the Clarity Act passed. That didn't happen. The Save America Act didn't happen. What did happen was they put the Clarity Act on the schedule. So when they come back from vacation in the middle of September, we might actually get a vote on the Clarity Act. But let's listen to, this is the policy, head of policy at Coinbase, talking about what happened in terms of Clarity Act and the progress that he sees going on here.
We're very much hoping to start the process before the Senate broke for the August recess. But what we've gotten now is something really special, which is a date certain and a time certain when we'll have our first procedural vote, and that's on September 15th. I mean, as you know, time on the floor is the coin of the realm in the Senate, and so the fact that we've got a date certain and a lot of senators who worked a long time to get a bipartisan bill together, I think sets us up really well for when Congress comes back. You know, even when it became clear that the bill wasn't going to come up before the recess, Democrats we're still at the table. There's still discussions going on. There was some progress we made even over the weekend over a couple of more technical elements of the bill. So there's a lot of effort that's been put in to get a bipartisan bill. And remember, it came over from the House with 80 Democrats having supported the House version. Since then, there's been several hundred pages of Democratic priorities added to the bill. There's a commitments on ethics that the president has made and an agreement on Democratic nominations to the SEC and CFTC. So we've got a very bipartisan, comprehensive package that's already on the table. I think there'll be some incremental work between now and the vote, and I'm very hopeful we'll get there.
So official date, September 15th. So we've kicked the can down the road 45 days. Are you mad yet? Are you upset with Congress yet? We have such dysfunction, such corruption within the Congress. It's hard to get anything done, but most particularly the Senate. I hope you do get angry because this is going to come full force as we get into the fall here. We're going to see what they actually get done. Meanwhile, Japan's passed their own Clarity Act. Russia's passed their own Clarity Act. Other countries are moving ahead and could possibly start taking the lead in the cryptocurrency space if the U.S. continues to fall behind. Patrick Witt had this to share, and he is an advisor to the White House on cryptocurrency. The administration remains fully committed to getting the Clarity Act across the finish line in September. Durable rules, the kind only legislation can provide, are needed now more than ever. But also, we can't afford to wait forever. Every time Democrats have delayed this bill, America's fallen further behind in the digital asset race, jeopardizing our leadership role in the global financial markets, weakening the national security, and denying law enforcement the tools they need to stop crypto crime. Clarity represents years of genuine bipartisan work, and Democrats still have a real opportunity to shape digital asset policy in America by helping pass it into law. Our door remains open, and we'll keep negotiating in good faith all the way up until the September vote. So they've scheduled, in the meantime, and I think this is important to note here, in the meantime, while we're waiting for Congress to get out of, this mess they're in, the quagmire, if you will, it says, and this is Christina Lima Strong posted this, as the Senate kicks the Clarity Act debate into at least September, the SEC has just announced an open meeting to consider where to issue or release proposing new rules on the crypto assets. So an open meeting is going to be held August 14th by the SEC about creating the rules and regulations in spite of Congress. This is amazing because usually the SEC would take the law from Congress and then work on the rules afterwards. They're going ahead with creating rules regardless of Congress. Not good, folks. Call your senators. Make your voice heard. Moving on to Iran. U.S. Central Command posted this. Earlier today, CENTCOM forces disabled the steering gear of a Panama-flagged MV Vila Nova as the cargo vessel attempted to transit the Gulf of Oman and violate the U.S. blockade against Iran by sailing towards an Iranian port. A U.S. Navy MH-60 helicopter, that's what you see in the picture, fired 2 Hellfire missiles into the Vila Nova's engine room after the ship's civilian crew ignored repeated warnings from American forces. The ship is no longer transiting to Iran in violation of the U.S. blockade, which remains in full effect. As of August 11th, CENTCOM has redirected 55 commercial vessels attempting to run the blockade, disabled 3 non-compliant vessels, and boarded 2. U.S. forces operating in the Middle East are highly vigilant, lethal, and ready. So apparently this blockade is still undefeated. Several keep trying it, but you know what? There's not much you can do. When a Hellfire missile comes and blows up your engine room, you're toast. And that's what's happened here. Donald Trump posted this: Iran has no money. 1 million Iranian rial equals $1.11. Look at this, how far it's fallen. 1 million Iranian rial now is only 53 cents versus $1.11. Currency is in the trash. Amazing, huh? Rapid Response posted this on President Trump's message on Iran. He says they're very devious negotiators because they'll agree to something, then they'll go out and tell the press that they've never agreed to it. Very dishonest people. Take a listen.
Three powerful strategies. We could just keep it alone, and they're going to fail. We could just keep, doing sort of just like nice and easy, relaxed. Like I said, I'm sort of negotiating. You see, they're very devious negotiators because they'll agree to something, then they'll go out and tell the press that they never
did not
do it. No, they're very dishonest people. So we have three strategies. Do what I'm doing now, just bop along and look how bad they're doing because the nations, they've got 300% inflation. They have no value. Their currency has almost no value. They have they're not paying their soldiers. Their soldiers are leaving. So just keep that going because that's not sustainable. Hit them really, really hard, or really the third is just beat them economically. But we're doing that anyway. That's sort of a part of the first step. So economically, they are a mess. They can't borrow money. We control their money, what they had, which is a lot. They had a lot, and we have total control of it. I'm their banker. I am their banker.
Isn't that interesting? I'm their banker. We have control of their money. Last week, we reported that the biggest concern the Iranians has was actually Scott Bessent, not the military, because they're clamping down on money movements everywhere. Anything tied to the regime is being completely stopped and cut off. And, of course, Donald Trump's taking credit for that. But Scott Bessent and the Treasury, with the upgraded systems they installed last year, are now able to track money anywhere, any place. And this is making it very difficult for the Iranians to get anything done. And they're having to negotiate because they have no choices. They don't have money to pay their people. They can't pay their army. They can't pay their fire people. They can't pay the police. They're in a real problem. Donald Trump posted this. I'm going to read the bottom section first because that came out first and then the top section, okay? I see that representatives of the Islamic Republic of Iran are asking for compensation for the damage done to them during the last 5 months military conflict. Started because we will not have a nuclear weapon, even though it was never mentioned in any of our negotiations or meetings. But it is an interesting idea because now I am likewise demanding compensation from Iran for all of the people that they have killed and gravely wounded with their roadside bombs and many conflicts for which they are famous, as led initially by General Soleimani, including the families of those killed on the USS Cole and thousands of others killed in combat. Additionally, compensation should be paid to the families of the hundreds of thousands of innocent protesters that Iran has killed over the last 50 years, not to mention the 52,000 that have been killed in the last 5 months. I have instructed my representatives to put this firmly into any and all future negotiations. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. And then at the top, he adds this caveat. Also, with respect to Iran negotiations, Iran should be responsible for the damages and death caused to the people of Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, and Gaza. President Donald J. Trump. So now he's going to charge them economically on top of everything else. Eric Daugherty posted this just in a massive announcement. The Trump administration says oil pipelines have been massively upgraded. They are now circumventing the strait with 5 to 7 million barrels of oil per day, bypassing the Strait of Hormuz. Take a listen.
Look, the only one that has control of the Strait of Hormuz right now is the United States Navy. We have a blockade that's been infallible. It's a steel wall. And we let people in that we want to let in, and those people come in, and they've been coming in and they're going out. So it's actually open now. We do not let them go into Iran. They're not admitted into the strait to go to Iran. but it's open for others. Now, a little bit complex because they will, on occasion, drop a mine, and we find the mines. You know, we've mine swept the entire strait, as you probably maybe heard, maybe you didn't hear, but we control the strait 100%. Now, can they make trouble? Yeah, they can make trouble. But they're broke. They have no money. You know, Iran is broke.
So a lot going on there with activating pipelines. We reported some time back that the UAE had turned on a new pipeline that they had just finished going around the strait and coming out near the border of Jordan. We've also heard now that Chevron has struck a deal with Iraq, and they're going to try to put in a pipeline from Iraq and head directly towards the Mediterranean. This is going to be an incredible thing in the future if they can get that pipeline done. Again, additional energy flows. Moving our attention now to Africa. A lot going on here in Africa. Africa Eye posted this. There are wildfires burning. This is going to create food security issues for them, as it's going to eliminate some of the food and crops that they've been growing. Another photo here. This was posted by Al Jazeera. It said Dane County geoengineering watch the dimming of Dane, Washington alert. Move comes as fourth heat wave of summer intensifies. Here's more from MSN. Heat wave drives major wildfires across North Africa. We don't hear about any of this here in the U.S. from the Matrix media that gives a scripted political circus every single day. But as you can see, fires going on. Now, moving this to Brittany Brent posted this. What is wrong with humanity? People being sold in Libya because slave trade still exists? Take a listen to this video. Amazing.
Black Africans. What you come do in North Africa? You come to our country to steal and you leave your country. Why?
These men are migrants with dreams of being smuggled to Europe by sea.
Excuse me, can I speak to you? We are going inside. Have a seat in your place. Have a seat in your place.
They come in their thousands from Niger, Mali, Nigeria, Ghana. It's hard to believe that these are the lucky ones, rescued from warehouses like the one in which we witnessed the auction. They're sold if those warehouses become overcrowded or if they run out of money to pay their smugglers.
Of these rescued men, so many here say they were held against their will. It doesn't take us long to find victory.
Just take us home. No food, no drinking water. Just take us home. Want to go? No food, no water, nothing.
Victory was a slave.
So slavery still going on in North Africa. Crying shame that that's happening, and the world should not put up with that. We have this post coming out. This is breaking. South Africa's unemployment rate hits 33.6% as the country loses hundreds of thousands of jobs. South Africa's official unemployment rate has climbed to 33.6% for the second quarter of 2026, up from 32.7% in the first quarter, the highest level in 4 years. Now, I had a conversation with people in South Africa who are working on trade schools there. And if you break down the larger components or the separate components of the population, the numbers even get higher. What I mean by that is if you're looking at ages 18 all the way to, say, ages 32, 33, that specific group, the unemployment rate is closer to 50%. So they've got some real problems there in Africa with trying to find jobs for people, and it's economically depressing the country. Not only this, but some of the young people are getting so down and depressed, they're turning to drugs and other things to try to numb the pain of their lot in life. It's certainly a real problem. We do hope there's going to be some relief coming. I think getting business up and going is going to be probably the best way to solve that problem. Moving on to Europe now. Pervez, if I'm going to say that correctly, France, Churches are burning down one after another. The St. Philemone Church in Mercier was burned by Muslims. While mosques are being built, churches are being burned down. These are Christian churches, of course. Look at these fires burning. It's amazing. There have been numerous fires reported recently at churches. Joey Manorino posted this. He says, migrants just tore through the streets of Zurich after the street parade. Nearly 30 were arrested for assault and other charges in Switzerland. Switzerland's supposed to be one of the safest places. Certainly Zurich, one of the safest cities. Well, you be the judge. Take a look at this. This is problematic what's happening in Europe. One of the things that's interesting, you saw all the trash in the street. You know, I visited Europe, and when you compare this to what it used to look like 20 years ago, everything was clean, everything was nice, and now it's just turning into a cesspool everywhere. This is pretty scary. Tommy Robinson posted this. Police are stabbed in Toulouse by an Allah Akbar screamer again today. Insane what we're watching. Take a look. So problems can seem to continue coming from the Muslim invaders screaming Islam should go everywhere. Tomek Nieboglowski posted this. This is what the invasion of Europe looks like only since 2008. And so we have a little graphic here. I'm going to play this. Take a look at this. This shows each one of the dots that you see represents 100 illegal migrants. Kind of looks like an invasion, doesn't it? For those that are going, unbelievable what's happening, that's, of course, this is up to 2024 of migrants coming in. I want to remind you at the bottom there, it shows a total of 12,476. Joe Biden let nearly double that number into the United States in 4 years, to give you an idea. This is problematic. Of course, most of these are coming from Muslim countries in Europe, which is now affecting the recent things that we're seeing. And it's not just happening in Europe. I mean, there's other places too, but I want to play this brief video. This is coming from the UK, talking about this problem and potentially what it could mean. Take a look.
So you think everything is fear-mongering or Islamophobia or all this nonsense? Check out this video right here.
What do you think's going to happen in the UK? Any big changes, or is it going to keep going down this road?
Did you see the intel from the ex-MI6 agent?
No, what happened?
It broke that there's around 80,000 jihadi-trained soldiers, allegedly, within the United Kingdom, waiting for the go word, and the Albanians have been supplying firearms to them over the last 5 to 10 years. They're storing the firearms and the ammo in the mosques, so people can't go in and search even during wartime. It's like a rule.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, given the amount of men and migrants that have flooded to the UK in the last 15 years, I'm extremely concerned about the safety of everyone in the United Kingdom, because we gave up our firearms in 1997. So let's say, for example, the general British public have no firearms, no way to protect themselves. And then we have 80,000 soldiers already embedded within the United Kingdom, and they come out with firearms. What do you think is going to happen?
What do you think is going to happen? And many of the leaders of Europe are still allowing this to continue to go on and on and on. Are you getting tired of this, Europe, yet? Getting tired of your leaders selling your countries down a river? You better make your voices heard. You better let them know. As we move to America, the Islamic March has not slowed down here at all over the last week. It seems to be increasing. And we're going to look at some scenes from just this weekend. Amy Meck posted this: Islamization of America rages on. Glendale Heights, Illinois. From a quiet American suburb to now an open-air Islamic parade. This is crazy. Take a look at this video. You would think that that wouldn't be happening at those kinds of numbers. Of course, they're all dressed in black as if they're attending a funeral. She then posted a second video. This is of New York City on the Islamic holiday of Arbaeen. And I showed some videos about this a week ago, actually. But we didn't show many of New York. And this is why I wanted to post this today. Arbaeen, Queens saw a full-scale military street occupation. Take a look what's going on here. This is Queens, New York City. Take a look. So here in America, it continues as well, not just Europe. Dr. Malou posted this: disgusting. Muslims in Chicago found out that the Christians had planned a Jesus march, so they decided to have their own Islamic march at the same time and location to try to disrupt the Christian march. The Muslims in America are becoming increasingly hostile. Here's some video.
I want you guys to see this. It's important for you to see this. It's important for you to share this. No, I'm not in the Middle East. No, I'm not in Iraq or Afghanistan. A lot of places I've been many times. This is Chicago.
So, very interesting what we're watching there. Okay. And it's important that we're aware of this. They're becoming very openly protesting now. I'm expecting as the storm intensifies against the enemy, you're going to see more activation of this type of activity in various parts of the world. The cabal is desperate now. They're being cornered, and they're going to use any and all resources they have. You can probably expect more of this coming, unfortunately. Vivid posted this: Islamists in New York City Times Square, and listen to what they're saying in this video. Again, this is recorded in New York.
We're done hiding. We're done. We're done being tortured and hurt and judged. This is the correct religion. This is the religion that all of humanity needs to be upon, of Islam. And we will not stop until it enters every home. So I want you to repeat after me. I want to hear it in every single district. It should tremble. Brooklyn should hear it. The Bronx should hear it. Queens should hear it. Say it as if the Ummah depends on this, my brothers and sisters. La ilaha illallah. There is no God worthy of worship except Allah, the God of Jesus, the God of Moses, the God of Abraham, and the God of the last and final prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam.
We will not stop until this goes into every home. Wow. This coming from North Carolina. This is a couple of years old, but it's being shared as a reminder. This is an imam in North Carolina explaining how to take advantage of America's freedom of speech system here to infiltrate. Take a listen.
Are in a gold mine. This is a deep water where if we have to launch big ships, Islam, Da'wah of Islam, this is a right place. No restrictions on dawah. No restrictions on dawah. Even if you go to Saudi Arabia, you cannot do dawah. You will be caught. This country, I can stand in the middle of Manhattan and I can call people, nobody can stop it. Trump cannot stop it. Biden cannot stop me. Nobody can stop me. About 50 years from now, Muslims will become the #1 religious group compared to Christians. In 50 years, inshallah. Approaching Christians with the message of Islam is the easiest thing to do. We can start with commonalities, things that we both accept, understand, agree on theology.
So they've told us what their plan is. Bridget posted this in Fort Knox, the first Muslim majority city in America. An all-Muslim council has just legalized backyard animal sacrifice. Take a listen to that.
It's raged on for at least 3 hours at Hamtramck City Hall over the new ordinance of sacrificing animals.
Really ridiculous, catastrophic resolution.
If it's not passed, then we are ready to take it to the court for the religious rights. It is constitution.
This was the second debate of the new ordinance, and there was a crowd outside of the City Hall chambers filling out cards to speak, and they were watching it on closed-circuit TV.
No, it's not safe or sane or humane because basements or kitchens or backyards are not suitable places for live animal slaughter.
Many people, including Muslim residents, were against it, citing sanitary concerns if the animals are sacrificed in a home and not in a sterile environment, especially in the tight-knit neighborhoods of Hamtramck.
So Hamtramck now legalizing backyard slaughter. Moving on to other news, leakers were exposed here in America. And this is dangerous as we look at this. War correspondent posted this: breaking, major leaker has been caught. Secretary of War P. Hegseth has revoked the former Secretary of the Air Force, Frank Kendall, access to classified intel after he leaked classified information surrounding Air Force One's capabilities to the fake news. This is incredible what we're watching here, folks. It's amazing here. Now, what this occurred a month ago. Trump was coming back from Turkey, and he had to take a different plane to the UK. Now we know why he had to switch planes, because of this guy. Because he wanted Trump to get hit with potentially an Iranian missile. Incredible. The Central Reserve posted this. Just in, after publicly boarding Air Force One in Turkey, President Trump was secretly moved out of sight from the press to a nearby C-32A plane, which he used to fly to the UK while there was a possible Iranian assassination plot. The Washington Post broke this story. The usual Air Force One was the decoy. This was after he originally had shifted from the new Air Force One, the one that he got from Qatar. Not surprising if true, but who is leaking this to WAPO? Washington Post. The story is emerging just days after Secretary Pete Hegseth exposed the alleged leaker surrounding the first Air Force One story. They all need to be rooted out. I agree with you. This came from Pete Vrahman of Montgomery County Executive. New York Times reporters have been subpoenaed after reporting that President Trump had to change to the old Air Force One in Turkey due to security reasons. New York Times claims FAFO fined the leaker. Well, this is interesting as we look at this, and I will play a video here in just a second about the situation. He wasn't even on the old Air Force One. Now we learn it was actually a C-32. Very interesting.
Reporters asked him why he flew out of Turkey on the old Air Force One. The president in this Truth Social post says the new Air Force One was being showcased to service members at the Royal Air Force Mildenhall in the United Kingdom. Still, the move raised questions about the security of his Qatari-donated Boeing 747 and whether it has the full suite of defensive upgrades of the older aircraft, like an advanced missile defense system. The New York Times reports the president was advised by the Secret Service to make the switch as a precautionary measure and not because of a specific threat. The president brushing off concerns about the new plane and his life as he was pressed by reporters as to why they had to close their blinds on their flight from Turkey to the UK on the old plane.
Do you know why they had us close our window blinds? That was not usual. Well, yeah, because you're probably on a dangerous flight because of the sleaze bags that we have to deal with.
White House spokesperson Stephen Chung tells Fox News the new Air Force One is a state-of-the-art aircraft that has been fitted with high-level security protocols that ensure the safety of the president and his staff. As the president has said recently, there are many enemies of America who have their sights on him, and we use every tool at our disposal, including distraction and misdirection, to address those threats. The president ultimately came back to Washington, D.C. on the new jet. Sandra, back to you.
All right, Madeline in Washington for us. Madeline, thank you.
So the question I have is, he said they were showing off the plane to the Air Force there in the UK. What were the Air Force doing in the plane? Probably searching it. Probably scrubbing it for any and all issues. He says, yeah, we were showing it off so they could see it, but you know there's a whole lot more going on there. Moving on to other news. Fox News posted this: breaking, Senators Ron Johnson and Rand Paul have released the first batch of text from Dr. Anthony Fauci's government iPhone. In one January 2021 exchange, Fauci, then the CDC director, Rochelle Walensky, and Surgeon General Vivek Murthy discussed COVID vaccination and pregnant women. Fauci flagged a potential concern following the second dose of the vaccine, writing that many experience a significant cytokine storm and fever, and that it could theoretically be associated with miscarriage in the first trimester. Incredible.
Breaking right now, Republican Senators Ron Johnson and Rand Paul releasing the first batch of text messages
from Dr. Anthony Fauci's government iPhone. In one exchange from January of 2021, Fauci, then CDC Director Rochelle Walensky, and then Surgeon General Vivek Murthy discussed COVID vaccination and pregnant women. Fauci flags a potential concern after the second dose, writing that many people experience, quote, significant cytokine storm and fever, and that this, quote, theoretically could be associated with miscarriage in the first trimester. Walensky responds, quote, definitely a good point, especially after dose 2. A cytokine storm is essentially when the body releases too many inflammatory signals that could cause high fever, inflammation, and in extreme cases, life-threatening illness. So this is just coming to light now, Sandra, that Fauci had these concerns. And I remember when I got the boosters, I developed pericarditis, then that went away. Then when I had the second booster, it came roaring back again. So, you know, the body reacts differently to these things depending on who you are.
Recent reports have come out saying that nearly 80%, and I'll read this, holy crap, Dr. Fauci was covering up data showing miscarriage rate at over 80% in pregnant women who received the mRNA COVID vaccine in their first trimester. I have a cousin that this happened to. It was horrific. In fact, she had to be severely hospitalized, lost the baby. Amazing what's going on here. But take a listen to what Fauci said in 2021. I'll let you judge whether he ought to go to the gallows or not.
If I were to pick out one thing that we as a nation are not doing optimally, it's the extraordinary situation where you have a highly effective vaccine that is very safe, and you have 50 million people in the country who refuse to get vaccinated, many of which are motivated purely by differences in political ideology, which is really unacceptable when you're in the middle of a deadly outbreak. If there ever was a time when you wanted the nation to focus on fighting the common enemy, and the common enemy is the virus, not ourselves, it is really extraordinary that we are having interference with public health principles for reasons that have nothing to do with public health.
He knew 80+%. The data says 82% of women that received the vaccine in their first trimester miscarried. Incredible. And he knew what the data was and still pushed it this way. Just the News reported this. In May of 2017, at the same time that the FBI was concocting an investigation against Donald Trump, they opened a second criminal investigation that same week against the sitting Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Incredible what was going on with this Russia nonsense. Take a listen to John.
2 healthy doses of transparency that might one day lead to accountability. Let me break it down. First, the White House Government Transparency Task Force, which I oversee as the chairman, released new documents today. What do they show? They show that in May 2017, at the same time, the FBI was concocting an investigation against Donald Trump, looking at the possibility that he fired James Comey at the instruction of the Russian government. Yeah, you all remember that from last week, right? Oxford comma, kind of preposterous now when you look back at it. Well, they opened a second investigation, a second criminal investigation that same week. Who was it against? The sitting Attorney General, Jeff Sessions. What was he alleged crime? That he may have given false testimony to Congress during his confirmation hearing. There's just one problem with that. Attorney General Sessions had already corrected his testimony, explained why he didn't mention something about Russian contacts during his testimony because it wasn't specific to the question. But he fixed it up within hours of his testimony. Then a couple Democrats complained. Then a liberal news organization wrote an article. And despite knowing that Jeff Sessions fixed his testimony, the FBI decided in May, months after getting the Democratic complaints, that those Democratic complaints, that liberal article, was enough to launch a criminal investigation and knock the sitting Attorney General out of supervision of the Russia case. The code name for that investigation, March Toll. Go take a look over at justthenews.com. All the documents, the full story over there. Another example of sort of the weaponized FBI in action. Meanwhile,
This is interesting as the evidence continues to pour out of malfeasance on behalf of the Democrat Party. What they were doing, they were weaponizing the government, every agency of the government against opponents, the very thing they've accused Donald Trump of. Yet the receipts are showing they were the ones doing this, not Donald Trump. Incredible what we're seeing. Jeff Sessions later had to step down from his position because of all of this unfairly. Julie Donuts posted this. Wayne Root had a conversation with Donald Trump. You have a right to declare a national security emergency for elections. Trump responded, stranger things have happened. Take a listen.
Because it's so hard to get the Senate to do anything, now they're on recess, they don't get anything done if they never get the Save America Act done. You have the right to declare a national security emergency for elections. And the Supreme Court ruled in 1983 under Reagan that INS versus Chadha, that if you declare a national security emergency as the President of the United States, they can't challenge it. It can only be overturned by a 2/3 vote of both houses of Congress. So if you do this in the next month, we will get photo ID, proof of citizenship, and a limit to mail-in ballots, and you don't even need the Senate's vote.
Okay, I'll leave it at that.
All right, we'll leave it at that.
Stranger things have happened. Well, what do you think's coming, folks? You think we're going to have a emergency, a national security emergency? I think so. In fact, I don't think we're going to have an election come November. I think by the time we get to the middle or latter part of October, we will all realize this is the only option. Take our country back. I don't think it'll happen sooner than later, because many have said, well, couldn't they just do it here in August? But the optics, I think, are wrong for that. What I mean by that is if you do it in August, you're going to have a number of people that say, well, we still have time to fix this before November. But what is the problem with the November election? The problem with the November election is for all of you that have gone to and voted in the primaries in your states, and there are many of you watching this that have done this, didn't you see the fake voting machine still there? Yes. So all the people on the ballot for this November election, were they elected or were they installed? So even if you ran a perfect election on November 3rd, is it the voice of the people? No, it can't be. Not if those people were installed with the fake voting machines to be put on the ballot in the first place. So this is a problem. It has to be fixed. Now, if he waits until mid to late October, there's no time to fix it. Now you have to redo everything, and that's what I think we're going to see. I think you could see a national emergency declared, basically putting the country into martial law, let the military seize control while we reset all elections to restore and re-inhabit the original Republic of the United States of America. We've got to reset our government, and we've got to retake sovereignty first. Many say, well, I just want the financial stuff done. If we don't have sovereignty, how can we issue an asset-backed currency? We need to retake the country. Then we can issue an asset-backed currency on behalf of the country for all of the citizens making a change. So I think there's a proper use for what Wayne Albert was talking about here, which is an emergency declaration. And I think we could definitely see that as we get into October. Moving back here to, I've got one more slide I want to show. This came from the White House. It's called The Capitol Restored, Order Restored, the Capitol Reclaimed. Remember all the beautification projects and fixing everything up? Well, this kind of lays that out, but there's a few comms that are in here as well. Take a look at this video. I think you'll appreciate it. concludes our episode today of We Have the Gold here on August 11th, 2026. For those of you that are hoping to still get on schedule with me, I'm sure there are probably some appointments open in August. You can go to enochgs.com. At the bottom of the homepage, there is a link to a calendar. If you can find a spot there, we can perhaps have a little time. I only have so much time I've been able to allocate for this. I apologize that it isn't more, but it does take a lot of time preparing these episodes and bringing things forward for you so that you can take a look at that. As we conclude today's session, I want to cover a couple of things. First, I would like you to take a look at this. Now, this is a public service announcement I'm going to make here today. This is a post that came from Telegram. And at the top, it says, National emergency. Trump ignites Nasara payouts, $3.5 trillion in seized elite funds, surging to verified patriots as the globalists launch desperate sabotage to stop the reset. Sounds all exciting, doesn't it? But I wanted to let you know this is an absolute fake post on a fake channel. And the bottom that's outlined in red is the clue. Immediate action required. Ultimate last warning. Network clearance 3.0 is in progress. All users must re-verify their accounts using the mandatory two-step final verification protocol. Final confirmation, restore account. What does this mean? They are wanting you to give up your information so they can scam you. That's what this means. When you're seeing messages like this all over Telegram, this is a scam, my friends. First of all, the message is completely fake, 100% fabricated, okay? Secondly, they're trying to get you to engage in a process talking about Nasara, talking about QFS, all of this as if that's something real. Have you ever heard Donald Trump mention the word Nasara? Have you ever heard him say Jassar? Have you had him say QFS? There are scammers all over the internet trying to take advantage of you. And I'm showing this as a public service because I don't want any more people to be hurt. We need to be wise. We need to be very careful about what's going on here. And this is a problem. It's happening all over the place. Now, there's some that have been freaking out, and there's messages going around, oh my gosh, Will Barney's turned against the RV, the revaluation of currencies. I would like to set the record straight on a couple of things. First off, I want to bring a little bit of clarity to this situation for a minute. And I hope this is helpful for some of you that are trying to figure out, well, what's happening here? Why did Will make some comments last week on a show, QFS? Now, what's interesting is the Great Reset show that we do with John Michael Chambers. There was a video played in that show towards the latter end of it that came from Juan O'Savin. And he basically said that, the RV thing was all nothing but a big con, essentially. I want to make a couple of observations to this process. First off, all currencies will revalue when we go to the asset-backed currency. Some currencies are not going to move very far. You're talking like a few pennies and you'll never see it or notice it. Some will move further. A revaluation will be a natural process of what happens when you move from fiat into an asset-backed currency, and the whole world's going to be moving to this eventually. We've only had one country actually go gold-backed so far, and it's Zimbabwe, which happened last year. So this is going to be an interesting scenario. Now think about this for a second, and I want you to just put on your logical brains for a minute, okay? Think about this. If you're given a new asset-backed currency, let's say American dollar, comes out, and it's now backed by real stuff, gold, silver, palladium, platinum, uranium, whatever it is, okay? Variety of minerals. And I think there's going to be, I'm hearing there could be as many as 12 different things that actually are going to back the new dollar. So let's say that it's backed, but it's backed by real stuff, okay? That dollar is now going to have great value. Now think about these currencies that many people have been buying. It's whether it be bolivar, or whether it be dong or dinar or whatever. They were all issued as fiat. So there are messages going around trying to ascribe values as to what these are going to be worth. That, oh, the dong will be worth them $3, or the dinar will be worth $7 or whatever. First off, I don't know. I don't think anybody knows what the value of the reset and the revaluation will be ultimately at that. But does it make sense that if you're sitting on fiat currency and you're swapping it for asset-backed currency, that you would get multiple dollars of the fiat, of multiple dollars from the asset-backed currency for your fiat? Does it make sense? One is backed by something, the other is not. I think we need to be wise about this. Now, with that being said, I don't know what values will be. I'm not going to predict values because I was told when it came time to exchange currencies, no one would know until they were there. Okay. So that first off. Secondly, there could be some contracted situations. If it's a contract, that's already set in stone. So maybe it'll be what it'll be. Next, let's take a look at what's going to happen. Some have reached out to me saying, well, if this isn't going to have some great value, I don't know how I'm going to get my projects done. I want my projects done. What about the Zim? What about all these different things? I can tell you affirmatively, because I've had conversations with the families that hold collateral accounts of the world. I've seen some of these accounts. Believe me when I tell you, there is no lack in our worlds. There's enough for projects. These families have never mentioned to me that they were interested in making every man, woman, and child a millionaire. They have asserted numerous times they wanted the projects done. So what do you think that means going forward? Could mean a couple of things. I can't tell you definitively because that has yet to be offered and announced. But what I can say is for those that are doing projects and giving back to humanity, they most likely will do very well with their project, and they will make money from doing it. Because a lot of these projects are profit-producing projects. It makes sense to me that those that are giving to humanity are the biggest benefactors, that they ought to receive a gift for the good that they're doing. That makes sense to me. I'm not worried about whether projects will be funded. The funding won't come forward until we have a stable, asset-backed financial system in order to do that funding. Okay? So this is why this hasn't occurred yet. But it makes sense in my mind that those that are doing projects would be the greatest benefactors long term. And that they would be blessed for what they're doing. And many of you have projects you're planning, you're getting ready to do, and you want it to be a success. And I want it to be a success for you because your heart and your soul and all that you are in it. Many have heard a call to do something greater. I applaud you and I thank you for that. I too have heard that call and we're in this together. There will be enough, more than enough. And we'll launch project after project after project, and it will rebuild the world over time. I have heard some concerns coming from these families. The concern is this, that if too much money is released too quickly, it could disrupt any one sector of the market Here's an example. Let's say you released $500 billion and it all went into the dairy industry. Suddenly there's farms being bought, cows being bought, and everything with this money. What does that do? Drives up the price of land, drives up the price of cows. It creates an artificial inflation in that one industry. That is not a normal market. It's an inflated artificial market. The family is keenly aware of this, and they don't want that to happen. They don't want us to break the system by creating artificial problems. A good example of this, if you live in the United States, and this has probably happened in more places than the U.S., but over the last 7 years, we had home prices go absolutely through the roof across America. Why did this happen? It happened because you had billions of dollars from Wall Street going directly into real estate, into homes. You now had billion-dollar companies competing for homeowners that just want a roof over their head, families that just need a place to call their own. And what did that do? It drove the prices up tremendously. Some places it went up 50% over the last 5 years. Some nearly doubled. Now, does that make sense? Real estate used to be the stable thing, the good earner, 1%, 2% a year, steady as you go, but not 50% in 5 years. Not 100% in some cases, 7 years. That's an anomaly. That's what happens when you throw too much too quickly into a system. So I just want to speak generally to all of us here. We need to understand, yes, we're building a better world. We will do it project by project over time. It will be amazing. But we need to do it in a way that we're not breaking what works. We need to enhance where we are and grow from there in a way that moves us forward. So this message is for all of you that were concerned and are really worried about whether your projects will get done. Projects will get done. That will be something that happens because that is how we bless the world. That's how we make it better. So don't be concerned. There will be a revaluation of all currencies. I don't know what those prices will be. Feel pretty certain everybody probably comes out better than they went in, okay? That is a very likely scenario. What those numbers are, we don't predict because we know we cannot predict. And those that are saying they know what the price is probably don't, because the official sources are telling me, no, you're not going to know until that very day when you actually do that. Then you'll find out. So will everybody come out better? Yes. This will be an upgrade. Having sound money, what we want to do is we want to hold inflation in check. If you have asset-backed money, theoretically, you should have zero inflation. That means no cost increases across the board because you have stability going on behind your currency. If we throw too much out too fast, we're going to create that inflation artificially. That doesn't make sense. Why would we want to do that to each other? But that's essentially what would happen if we did this. So we need to be reasonable. We need to be responsible. We need to find ways to protect ourselves through a changing economic system. We're going from one fiat currency. We're now going to be moving to an asset-backed currency. What moves through that transition? In every time in history, when there's been a change of financial systems, gold and silver always bridged the gap. Gold and silver are not great long-term earners. I'll be honest with you. If you look at it over the long haul, stock markets outperformed them. However, nothing holds value better to get you through a transition than that, because that is what backs asset-backed currency. So we have the gold, means that the country has the gold reserves it needs. Will there be a price increase, a price floor to make that gold spread a little further, to go a little further? The higher the price per ounce, the more money you can create with the same amount of gold. And that could be advantageous for a lot of countries all over the world. You got 209 nations we're talking about here. So if everybody has their resources in place, that can be advantageous perhaps long term. Silver is a different matter. Silver is a metal used predominantly in electrical things. We have a lot of advanced technology coming out that's going into that. Silver needs to be high enough that it's economical for mining companies to get it out of the ground. But if you move it too high, everything is now inflated. That iPhone, that iPad, whatever you're buying, now the price has gone up an extra $100. That's not helpful. So there's a place in there where there's a happy medium. Okay. The price needs to be where it be for economic activity, for mining companies to make it. At the same time, let's not have it so expensive we can't offer technology to each other. And I think that there's a lot of discussion that happened last Friday with how you find that balance. We haven't seen a price floor yet. We have presidential orders saying we need reports on how we can do a price floor. So we expect them to be coming, and we expect that to be something that would stabilize the mining industry. So gold and silver have different roles to play. Gold long-term has always been money. It's always been a backer of funds for thousands of years. That's been the case. Don't see that changing anytime soon. Silver could move and have a greater move percentage-wise than gold to a price floor that works. But if it moves too fast, too hard, we now create economic instability due to inflation. So believe me when I tell you that this presidency, this administration is working very hard to try to keep everything stabilized. If you've noticed, the stock market is doing well. They don't want to crash it into oblivion and blow everybody's retirement accounts up. That being said, they know it needs to transition to transparency. Blockchain does that, but we can't have blockchain because we don't have a Clarity Act yet, right? It's not safe until we get a Clarity Act. So there's a lot of things yet to be done. If you're upset with your senator, you should be. They're holding the process up economically. I do believe ultimately we will get that passed just in the nick of time when we need it. When is that time? I think it comes after we declare our sovereignty first. That probably puts it later in the year. We're going to have to watch how it unfolds. What we will do is we will track the events. We will bring you the events as they unfold, and we'll try to show you how all of that is playing into our lives so that we can make the best decisions we can for ourselves and going forward. I hope this brief discussion has been helpful for you to kind of set the record straight. I don't agree with everything that everybody says out there within the community, and some don't agree with me. And it's okay. We have these discussions because they're about understanding different points of view. I hope this has been helpful for you, though, as you understand a little bit about what we see and where we're coming from and how we see this moving forward in the next many years as we launch into doing beautiful humanitarian projects that are making a difference all across the world. From all of us here at Enoch Global Services, to all of you, we wish you a wonderful week. We're going to have another report coming later in the week. We love you. We appreciate you. I will put a link to Grace Precious Metals. That is who I use. And it's because I trust the people there. Bill Armour's a fantastic friend of mine, He will take good care of you. And I have it on his authority that if you use my link, you're going to get directly to him. And that makes me feel good because then I know you're going to have the right person taking care of you. These guys are no nonsense. There's a fixed fee. It doesn't vary. It doesn't gyrate. It's a standard fee schedule that you know what you can count on. I don't know any other company that's doing that. That's literally posting the fee saying this is what it is, and they stick to it. So if you want honesty and integrity, that's who we use. We just believe in straight, transparent business, and this is what they do. So thank you, Bill, and the other people at Grace Precious Metals for the work that you do. If any of you are looking to get metals, you can certainly use that link. I'm not saying you have to. Nobody has to do anything. We're just offering it as a courtesy because I get a lot of emails asking me, hey, where do I go? What do I do? Well, there's only one place that I know the people and I trust them. So that's the one I'm offering you. There's a lot out there and you're all welcome to try the many of them out there. And there's probably a lot of different opinions. From all of us here, for all of you out there, we love you. We're in this together. Where we go one, we go all is not just a moniker. It is about what we need to do together as a society to retake our sovereignty. And with that sovereignty, we can issue new asset-backed money. We can stabilize economies, and we can have a beautiful and very bright future. And I know that we will. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you in a few days. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week, and we'll bring you the news as it happens. Thanks. Have a good night. Bye-bye.